Hey guys, this is Chris Brigandy. Welcome to another edition of Brigandy TV. Today I have a really cool and very rare autograph of the great pitcher Christy Mathewson. He signed this book right here, Pitching in a Pinch. This was a ghostwritten book. A little about Christy Mathewson first though. Christy Mathewson was one of the first real gentlemen in baseball, and he was the face of baseball at the time. At the turn of the century, baseball wasn't considered a classy sport. It was considered more for ruffians. Mothers didn't want their children playing professional baseball. Baseball was for people who smoked and drank and bet and swore. But Christy Mathewson was the opposite. Christy Mathewson was a very well-educated man. He had a scholarship to Bucknell. He was a Bible-toting boy. He was basically considered a gentleman. He was a very classy, well-spoken guy. And baseball, just not only because he was a great pitcher, but because he was a good face for baseball, his face was everywhere. He was used everywhere. So he had a great pitching career. He started in 1900 for the New York Giants, played till 1916 for the New York Giants. After he retired, he had 373 wins. Again, one of the best pitchers ever. So after he retired, it was World War I. He was 38 years old at the time, so he's exempt from military service. But again, a classy guy. He volunteers for World War I, and him, Ty Cobb, Branch Rickey are sent over to France, and they do chemical training in France, and they're actually the part of the instructors. The idea was to teach the young soldiers. They would have people like Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, and Branch Rickey, people who these boys would look up to, and they would be training them. And hopefully the thought was that the soldiers were more likely to listen to these guys. So in an unfortunate accident, when they were training, Christy Mathewson, he missed the signal, according to Ty Cobb, in Ty Cobb's words. He missed the signal to either attach the mask or to turn it on or do something, whatever was the right way. And unfortunately, him and a few other guys had inhaled during one of the training sessions a lot of, it was probably mustard gas, a lot of gas at the time. They came out of the room and his chest was hurting. Went back to the United States after training was over, and he was very sick. So this is 1920. He died in 1925 from these effects. So from 19 to 25, he was very sick. He was bedridden most of the time. So because of his early untimely death at age 45, his autograph is very scarce. And remember, this is the turn of the century. Baseball players, athletes, they're not signing a lot at this time. They're signing maybe here and there for a fan, but most of their autographs are on items like documents, signed checks, signed letters. And Christy Mathewson actually wrote books, or they were ghostwritten, and here is a great example. So I'm going to open this up here if you want to take a look. The binding's very fragile. Again, it's a very old book. So this is June 3rd, 1912. You see, he has a beautiful autograph. It's very artistic. It's very legible. You can read every single letter practically. And this is a particularly bold one. It's graded 9 by PSA. It's dual authenticated, PSA, JSA, both authenticated this. It's a really long signature too. It's about 4 to 5 inches. So it's a really impressive piece, especially up close and personal like this. When you open this book, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, it's such a large signature. It's so bold. Going back to the date here, June 3rd, 1912. So, of course, he's playing. It's 1912, so it still his playing days. So we looked it up because we wanted to see what is he doing June 3rd, 1912. So we actually looked it up. And June 1st, he pitched, and then he pitched again on June 7th, both of which he won both games. So this is kind of cool. Not only was 1912 a great season, he went 23-12, but in between, when he signed this book, it was in between 2 great starts he had, and he won both games. So a little context for the signature here. Now, if you're familiar at all with Christy Mathewson's autograph, it is one of the most forged autographs in the industry. And one, because it's so perfectly legible like that, and it's particularly valuable. So this is a very valuable book, and therefore, or autograph, so it's forged quite often. Now, a lot of people say there's no real Christy Mathewson autographs out there. The only ones are on checks and maybe a signed letter here and there. That's a way conservative ideology. Yes, they are very rare, and many of his autographs were secretarial signed at the time. But here we have a beautiful, authentic autograph. Now, this book is called Pitching in a Pinch. There's another well-known book called One in the Ninth, W-O-N. And that book was issued in presentation copies. And on the first page of that book, there's a book plate. And most of those were secretarial signed. And they know that because of the secretary at the time actually would initial the bottom of them, and they know that style signature from the secretary, and then that was copied onto the books, but the books didn't have the initials. So a lot of people, and there's a lot of debate even today if any of them are good. Many of them are secretarial signed, but a bunch have come out that are not, and they're a little different style. So it's definitely a rare item. A lot of controversy around the ones with the book plate. I always tell people, unless you're dead cocksure about it, stay away from them. Buy something, a different book, or buy a check, or buy a baseball. A baseball is extremely rare, a single sign baseball. They command basically, I think, $50,000 to $100,000 bare minimum on baseballs. Checks are another collectible item by him. So what happened was when he passed away, a lot of fans would write to his wife and requesting autographs, but she didn't have any. The one thing she did have was checks that were written by Christy and sent back from the banks through the mail to them, and she had a pile of them, and she would write the fans back and say, here's the check, I'm really sorry it's not a signature meant for collecting because it was on a legal document, technically, a bank check, but today those are very collectible, and that's a great way to get an authentic Christy Mathewson signature. So this is a really cool item. When we get stuff like this in the store, as you know, these things go quick. It's already sold. It was in, I think it's sold in about 3 or 4 days. That's how in-demand stuff like this is. So if you know anything, or if you have any Christy Mathewson autographs, or you're looking for one, give us a shout, call us, email us. We'll try to find one, or we'd love to buy them too. So just give us a shout. Thanks for watching another edition of Brigandy TV. I'm Chris Brigandy. Thanks again for watching.